Okay, imagine this. You're like standing in this super busy digital city, right? Everywhere you look, brands are just yelling. Bright lights, loud music, all trying to grab your attention.
Sensory overload, basically.
Totally. But then you hear something else. It's quiet, like really quiet. A whisper, almost. And you kind of lean in.
And it feels like it's talking just to you.
Exactly. It feels personal, intentional,
Yeah.
not like all the other noise.
Yeah, that's a really interesting feeling to capture, isn't it? That unexpected intimacy in a place that's usually all about scale and, well, volume.
That feeling that someone or something is actually listening and, responding in a way that actually connects.
On a personal level.
Yes. And that feeling, that connection, and that's what this deep dive is all about today. We're getting into this idea of building a brand that whispers back.
So forgetting the megaphone approach.
Exactly. It's about cultivating something different online, something that feels, authentic, personal, genuinely connected.
And we're basing this on some really fascinating source material today, right? A piece that really digs into this whole concept.
Yeah, it really challenges the usual way of thinking about brand building. It suggests a different path, one that's all about connection, not just making noise.
Prioritizing connection over clamor. I like that.
So our mission today, for you listening, is pretty straightforward. We're going to pull out the key ideas from this source. We want to figure out what a brand that whispers back really means.
Why it seems to be working right now. Why it's effective.
And, crucially, how brands are actually doing it, like the mechanics of it.
Right, so that you, whether you're building something, creating content, or just, living your life online, can understand this shift, this subtle but pretty significant shift in how brands are trying to connect.
Yeah, it's a different way of interacting.
Definitely. So let's settle in and explore this quiet revolution, the whisper.
Okay, let's jump right in. The source material, it starts with this really nice description, almost atmospheric. So it's a scene that's calm, thoughtful.
Yeah, like quiet reflection, which is such a contrast to the usual online chaos.
Exactly. And it introduces this core idea. A brand that whispers back feels less like an ad, more like a friend. It talks about intimacy, personal connection. But, okay, let's define that better. What does whispering back actually mean for a brand? How is it really different from just, being quiet or subtle in the old school marketing sense?
Well, what's interesting is the source argues the difference isn't just about volume. It's not just turning the sound down. It's about the direction and the intent of the communication.
Okay, direction and intent. How so?
Think about traditional marketing. Even if it's subtle, like a quiet ad with nice music, it's still mostly a one-way street, right? The brand is broadcasting at you.
Right, pushing a message out.
Exactly. Whispering back, as the source frames it, is totally different. It's moving from that broadcasting model to more of a conversation, from just like passively hoping people see your stuff to actively listening and interacting back and forth.
Ah, okay. So less monologue, more dialogue.
Precisely. It's like a traditional subtle ad might be a quiet announcement made to the whole room. But a brand that whispers back, it's like it's leaning in close, responding specifically to something you just said or did.
So it's not just the brand being quiet at itself. It's the brand reacting quietly and personally to you, acknowledging you.
Yes, exactly. It's about presence, not just presentation. The source uses this phrase, a whisper core journey into authenticity.
Whisper core. That sounds interesting, like a whole aesthetic. What does the source suggest that means?
Yeah, whisper core definitely points towards rooted in subtlety, right? But also emotional resonance and this really depth commitment to being authentic, not performative.
The opposite of trying to go viral just for the sake of it.
Exactly. It suggests deliberately focusing on the small things, the genuine feelings, maybe the less polished side of things. And that metaphor the source uses, the Tokyo coffee shop.
Yeah, I like that.
It fits perfectly, doesn't it? That kind of place, calm, detailed, focused on the individual experience, that intimate, thoughtful space. That's the feeling this kind of brand interaction wants to create.
So it's less about shouting at people and more about inviting them into a comfortable space where they feel noticed, heard.
Seen and heard. Creating a digital space where that intimacy feels natural, not forced, like it's just part of the atmosphere.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, the source brings up a really key point about why this is resonating so much right now.
Yeah.
It mentions that Hootsuite report from 2024.
Oh, yeah, the stat. 72% of consumers want brands that feel human online.
72%.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's not a niche desire. That's the vast majority saying they want something different.
It really is striking. It points to this massive unmet need, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Why do you think that desire for humanity online is so strong now in 2024? What's driving it?
Well, the source suggests a few things, and it kind of lines up with what we all feel, right? First, just the sheer amount of stuff online. Information overload is real.
Mm-hmm. We're drowning in it.
We are.
Yeah.
And our brains are just getting better at filtering out anything that feels like a generic ad. We tune out the noise.
And then there's the trust issue. People are, I think, generally more skeptical of polished corporate messages that feel too perfect.
Yeah, wary of being manipulated, maybe.
Possibly. And third, maybe the biggest factor, is just this deep human need for genuine connection, especially when so much of our life is through screens, we're online constantly, but maybe feeling more disconnected than ever.
So we crave interactions that feel real,
It's
empathetic.
Exactly. We're digitally exhausted by all the performance, maybe, and we just want something that feels authentic, something that treats us like people, not just, clicks or data points.
And that's where this whispering back fits in, according to the source.
Precisely. Because a connection that feels human, it cuts through all that noise. It speaks to the individual, and the source argues this is incredibly powerful for building trust.
How so? Like, how does whispering build trust more than, say, just being reliable?
Well, think about who you trust in real life. It's usually people who actually listen to you, right? Who acknowledge how you feel, respond thoughtfully. When a brand mimics that online, even in small ways,
It feels different.
it does. It signals respect, maybe even care. A genuine interest in the person, not just the potential sale. And that builds a much deeper, more resilient kind of trust than just shouting features and benefits every.
Source had that great line, didn't it? Like a brand that replies to your comment with warmth, not a bot. That's what makes you feel seen.
Yes, feel seen. That phrase really resonates. What does that actually mean, though, to feel seen online in that massive, crowded space? Why is that so impactful?
Well, I think, the internet can feel so anonymous. You scroll, you click, you comment.
Yeah.
Maybe you feel this one tiny voice in a hurricane.
Yeah, easy to feel invisible.
Right. So when you actually take the time to engage with the brand, leave a comment, ask something specific, share an experience, you're putting a little bit of yourself out there.
Vulnerability, almost.
Kind of. And if that brand responds, not with some generic template, but in a way that clearly references your specific point, maybe uses your name, shows they actually read it.
It's validation.
Exactly. It's a moment of recognition. It says, we didn't just see a notification, we saw you. It validates your effort, your presence. And that feels, honestly, pretty powerful. It shifts the whole dynamic.
From just brand talking to market.
To brand connecting with individual.
Yeah. And that creates an emotional connection that goes way beyond just buying something. It's like the source hinted, almost like a digital hug.
Huh. A digital hug. I like that. A moment of real emotional connection that's not about the transaction.
Exactly. It's building that affinity, that loyalty through feeling, not just function or price.
Okay. I get the what and the why, but the big question is still the how. How do brands actually do this effectively? Especially bigger ones. Is it just about hiring really good social media writers?
The source is pretty clear it's more than just clever copywriting, though obviously that helps. It talks about needing to understand your audience's soul.
Okay, soul. That sounds a bit much. Maybe a little abstract. What does that mean in practical terms for a brand?
Yeah, soul is definitely metaphorical here. Practically speaking, it means going deeper than just demographics, age, location, or even basic interests.
Deeper how?
It means really trying to grasp the underlying values, the core emotions, the things that truly motivate your audience. What do they aspire to, beyond just using your product? What are they frustrated about? What language do they use when they're being truly themselves, not just performing online?
So less about what they buy, more about who they are and how they feel.
Exactly. What cultural stuff genuinely resonates? What makes them tick? It needs deep listening, not just looking at clicks and shares. It's like digital anthropology almost, trying to understand the shared identity, the emotional landscape of that community.
Okay, so really understanding the human context, not just the data points. Which is interesting because the source then says AI is huge here.
Right. Feels like a contradiction again, doesn't it? How can AI, which we associate with automation, help create this deep, personal, whispering connection?
Yeah. Seems counterintuitive.
It does at first, But the source isn't positioning AI as the thing doing the whispering. It's positioning it as a crucial tool for understanding how to whisper effectively.
Ah, okay. A tool for understanding.
Exactly. AI can process just vast amounts of interaction, data, comments, DMs, mentions, likes, the actual words people use way faster and more thoroughly than humans can.
So it spots patterns we'd miss.
Patterns, nuances, emotions. The source highlights AI analyzing sentiment, but maybe going deeper, like identifying recurring themes and questions, spotting moments of real joy or frustration in comments, picking up on specific slang or in-jokes a community uses.
Understanding the subtext.
Yes. Understanding when people feel strongly, how they express it. AI can help figure out the approach, the right tone, maybe even the best timing for the brand's response.
So it could flag a comment where a personal touch would really land well, or suggest the kind of language that fits the vibe.
Precisely. It helps the brand understand who needs that whisper, what kind of whisper might work, and when to lean in. It's using AI to basically boost human understanding and empathy, not replace it. AI helps map the soul, if you like.
Okay, that makes more sense. Intelligence amplifying intuition. Got it.
Mm.
But even with AI helping to understand and pinpoint the moment, the source still hammers home that it's the human touch, empathy, humor that really makes it work. That makes it a true whisper.
Absolutely, because those things are incredibly hard for AI to replicate genuinely.
Why is that? Why are empathy and humor so tricky for machines?
Well, empathy often relies on shared experience, or at least the ability to truly imagine another's feeling based on our own. Current AI, it just doesn't have that lived experience. It can simulate maybe, but it doesn't feel.
Right.
And humor, oh, that's even tougher. It's so dependent on cultural context, timing, tone, irony, shared understanding. Get it slightly wrong, especially from a brand, and it can land really badly, feel awkward or even offensive.
Yeah, bad joke from a bot. That's
Oops.
great.
Not great at all. So the source emphasizes that it's these uniquely human things, real warmth, maybe a bit of self-deprecating humor, genuine understanding that create the deepest connections. They make the brand feel relatable, maybe even a little vulnerable. That's the stuff algorithms can't fake well.
It adds the texture, like the source's example, an Instagram story, that feels like a personal note.
Yeah.
Why does that format often feel more personal than, say, a super polished post on the main feed?
Yeah, stories often feel more
Right.
temporary, right? Less permanent, less curated, maybe a bit more spontaneous.
In the moment.
Exactly. And they often use those interactive features, polls, Q&As, quick videos that feel more like direct personal communication.
Mm.
So when a brand uses stories that way,
It feels less like an official broadcast.
right, more like a peek behind the scenes, or maybe even like a direct message sent just to you, the follower who chose to watch. It's informal, maybe not perfect, feels like a direct address. Creates that sense of intimacy, like you're part of an inner circle.
And all of this, the voice, the style, the interactions, it builds the brand's online identity. Its digital self, as the source calls it.
Yes, it's constructing that digital persona. How the brand sounds and acts online becomes who it is online. But this leads to that critical question the source raises, and I bet a lot of you listening are thinking this too.
Can it feel fake?
Exactly. Can it feel too staged? Like the brand is trying way too hard to be your buddy, when a big company suddenly starts using trendy slang or trying to act all casual.
It can feel really forced.
Yeah.
Cringy, even, like they're just putting on an act.
Totally. And if it feels like just a calculated marketing ploy, the whole whisper idea just collapses, right? The magic is gone.
The spell's broken. Definitely.
And the source tackles this directly. It says if the whisper feels too calculated, if it doesn't come from a place of genuine understanding and respect for the audience, it just feels hollow. And this is where authenticity isn't just a buzzword anymore. It's absolutely crucial.
So what does authenticity mean here, specifically?
It means the whisper needs to be backed up by real substance. If the brand's online persona is warm and helpful, its actual customer service better be warm and helpful too.
Consistency.
Consistency, sincerity. If it shares a real story, that story needs to be, real and aligned with the brand's actual values and actions. A genuine reply feels specific, thoughtful, maybe a little unscripted, even if AI helped understand the context. It can't just be a performance. It has to be real.
It has to be earned, maybe. Built over time through consistent, sincere interaction.
I think so. Which leads to that reflective question the source poses for you, the listener. Think about it for a second. What's a brand that feels like it's whispering to you? Who cuts through the noise online? Who makes you feel seen or connected in a way that feels real?
That's a good question to ponder. Thinking about your own experience really highlights when this is done well, doesn't it?
It does, and the source gives us a couple of really interesting examples of brands trying this whispering back thing in practice, different approaches.
Okay, let's get into those. The first one, the source details, is IKEA's ASMR campaign from back in 2023. That sounds like a very literal take on whispering.
It really is, isn't it? ASMR, that's autonomous sensory meridian response, uses those soft, quiet sounds, often whispers or tapping or crinkling, to trigger that feeling of calm and relaxation.
The tingles.
The tingles, exactly. And IKEA tapped into this by creating content focused on the quiet sounds of home and specifically their products. The source mentions things like the soft sound of flipping through their catalog pages.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Gentle whispers about making your home cozy, the sound of fabrics rustling, really subtle stuff.
But why ASMR? It feels kind of niche, maybe. How did that fit the whispering back idea for a huge brand like IKEA?
Well, ASMR is inherently intimate, isn't it? Most people listen with headphones, so it's a very personal one-on-one experience.
True. It bypasses all the usual visual noise.
Exactly. It goes straight for creating a feeling through sound. Quiet, calming, sensory. All things that align with that idea of a gentle, personal connection. And the source points out this wasn't just another ad, it was designed as an experience.
An experience of coziness.
Pretty much. Aiming to make you feel something connected to home and comfort and link that feeling subtly to IKEA without shouting about prices or flat pack furniture. It was about creating an emotional connection point.
And the source mentioned a result, a boost in brand affinity.
Yeah, a 15% boost in brand affinity, which is pretty significant.
For focusing on page-turning sounds.
Right. Brand affinity is basically how much people like and feel connected to your brand emotionally. So a 15% jump suggests this quiet, sensory approach really did shift how people felt about IKEA, made them feel, as the source said, more like a friend.
Which is the ultimate goal of the whisper, right?
Exactly. It shows that subtle, maybe unconventional methods can have a powerful emotional impact.
Okay, so that's IKEA. Calm, cozy whispers. The second example is totally different. KFC on X, formerly Twitter. In 2024, this sounds less cozy, more,
Crispy.
crispy. Exactly.
Yeah.
A totally different vibe. But the source says it uses a similar principle.
Yeah, the principle of sensory engagement and conversational connection. So KFC apparently ran these playful, kind of cheeky posts on X, and they incorporated the actual sound of fried chicken sizzling.
No way. Like audio in the posts.
Sounds like it. Taking that really familiar, almost primal sound, frying chicken, and bringing it right into the digital chat, using sound not just as background, but as a core part of the interaction.
Interesting. And the source said fans got involved, too. It wasn't just KFC posting sizzle sounds.
That's the crucial part for it being whispering back. It wasn't just broadcasting sizzles. They apparently prompted fans to share their own crisp moments.
Oh, cool. Like user-generated sizzles.
Maybe. Or just sharing the feeling, the moment of enjoying that crispiness. It turned the campaign into a shared thing, a conversation, a collective appreciation of that specific sensory pleasure.
So it felt less like an ad-pushing chicken.
And more like an inside joke, maybe? Or a shared moment within the community of people who, like KFC?
Yeah.
The source sums it up perfectly. It wasn't pushy. It was a conversation sparked by a sound leading to shared experience.
Okay, so we have IKEA with calm, intimate ASMR, building cozy feelings, and KFC with playful sensory sizzles, sparking conversation on social media.
Two very different vibes, right? But both moving away from standard ads, both using less conventional tools, sound-focused interaction to try and build that more intimate conversational connection.
It really shows the range, doesn't it? The whisper isn't just one thing. It can be calm, it can be playful.
The common thread seems to be that it's personal, it acknowledges the audience somehow, and it invites a connection that feels more authentic, less purely transactional. It's a philosophy, not just one tactic.
Okay, so let's bring this back to you listening. Whether you run a brand, create content, have a personal platform, or even just navigate the online world as a consumer. What's the big takeaway here? Why should this whispering back idea matter to you?
Well, I think if we step back and look at the big picture, the digital world is just incredibly noisy. Saturated.
It's definitely a constant battle for attention.
So learning how to connect without shouting louder, learning how to master this art of the whisper, that's becoming a really powerful way to actually build genuine connections, to stand out by being authentic, not just loud.
So it's relevant for basically anyone trying to connect online, not just big brands.
Absolutely. Small businesses, individual creators, personal brands, Anyone trying to form real relationships with an audience online, it taps into that fundamental thing the source mentioned right at the start.
That human desire for connection and trust.
Exactly. In this age of digital overload and maybe growing skepticism, people are really craving that human touch. They want to feel seen. They want to trust who they interact with.
So brands or creators who figure out how to do this whispering thing well.
They're meeting that fundamental need, aren't they? They're offering moments of genuine human connection in a space that can often feel pretty impersonal or isolating. It goes beyond just marketing.
Okay, so let's really boil this down. What are the core lessons the source wants us to take away from all this? The key takeaways.
Right. The source distills it into 3 main points. First, be human.
Be human. What does that mean in practice?
It means consciously shaping your online presence, your voice, your style, how you interact, so it feels less like a corporate broadcast and more like a personal conversation. Inject personality, warmth, maybe even a bit of vulnerability. Focus on the feeling you create.
Okay, focus on the feeling. Got it. What's number 2?
Second, leverage AI wisely.
The AI part again. Wisely.
Yes, wisely. The source stresses it's a tool, not a replacement for being human. Use AI to get that deep understanding of your audience, their emotions, their language, their needs. Use those insights to inform your approach, tailor your tone, spot those moments for connection, but don't let the algorithm drive the whole interaction.
Use data to be more human, essentially.
Exactly. And the third takeaway, engage authentically.
Authentically.
Meaning,
When you do interact, replying to comments, sharing content, whatever, do it in a way that genuinely invites connection. Respond thoughtfully. Use empathy. Use humor if it fits and feels natural. And crucially, make sure your actions align with the persona you're projecting. It has to feel real.
so be human. Leverage AI wisely, engage authentically. Those seem like solid principles drawn from the source.
Pretty clear.
Yeah. And the source also offers something really practical, doesn't it? A little try this challenge.
It does. A simple way to just test the waters, see how it feels.
What's the challenge? The challenge is this. Sometime this week, find just one interaction online related to your brand or your content. Could be a customer comment, a follower question, a piece of feedback. Just one.
Okay, one interaction, then what?
Then reply to it. But reply with a truly warm, personal touch. Make it specific to their message. Go beyond the standard thank you or generic response. Really try to connect.
And then reflect on it.
Yes, that's the key part. After you send that personal reply, take a second. How did that feel for you to write and send? And try to imagine how it might have landed for the person receiving it. That one small act, it can really highlight the difference this approach makes.
The power of the whisper, even in a single interaction.
It's like planting a small seed of connection, in that huge digital field.
That feels like a really good place to wrap up this particular deep dive. We've explored this idea of brands that whisper back, what it means, why it matters now, the tech involved, the crucial human element, and some cool examples.
Yeah, it's been fascinating to unpack. We really hope you, listening, found this useful and maybe got some new perspectives on connecting online. Thanks so much for joining us.
And it's interesting, the source material, as it closes, kind of hints at what could come next. It touches on AI's role in shaping online aesthetics.
Yeah. Connecting back to using AI to tailor the whole vibe, the look and feel, not just the words.
Exactly. How AI might be influencing the visual and sensory landscape online. That feels like a whole other deep dive waiting to happen.
Definitely a compelling area, the whole digital aesthetic and AI's hand in it.
For sure. In the meantime, for more, whispers of wisdom, as the source nicely put it.
Yeah.
You can find us on social media. We're on Instagram sharing stuff, maybe trying to practice a little bit of this whispering back ourselves.
We really hope this conversation gave you something valuable to think about.
Yeah. And maybe until next time, just kind of notice the conversations happen around you online, the brands, the creators, even your own interactions. Ask yourself, how could you maybe add a little more? Whisper.